What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Carolina Sports Update. I'm your host, Neil Curtis. We're here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We've got a lot to talk about today. Panthers, obviously still in the off-season, but a lot of stuff going on in free agency at the Combine. We got some score updates for the Hurricanes and Hornets, and Charlotte FC is in action. Full swing in MLS going on. ACC, of course, continues to roll. North Carolina Tar Heels seem to be on a tear, but it might be too late for them to make a difference. And Duke continues to storm through conference as well. We've got a lot more to talk about with NCAA women's basketball, NCAA baseball, maybe some softball too. So stick around after the words from some sponsors, and we will get into all that is Carolina sports.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back to Carolina Sports Update here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all is sports. Let's get into it, guys. Let's talk a little bit about Panthers football. I always love to talk it, and that's what we like to lead off with. So, again, obviously, still very much into the offseason, trying to see what's going on here. Free agencies underway. A couple significant updates I kind of want to talk about this time. Linebacker Shaq Thompson will not be coming back to the Panthers. They will not be re-signing him going forward as they part ways. Hopefully, he heals completely from his last injury and can find a good landing spot to finish out his career. But obviously, did a lot for the Panthers. One of two remaining players, I think J.J. Jansen, the other one from the 2015 run. That's a long time ago. He's been around. I think that was his rookie year, if I remember correctly. But he's been around for a long time. Kind of been something of a face of the franchise through the last 10 years. So pretty significant departure to go another direction without him. But I think probably ultimately in the best interest of the team and probably even Shaq there. Like I said, hopefully getting a good landing spot where he can rebound, finish out the rest of his career on a high note. Maybe one day come back for a quick signing, retire as a Panther, but we'll see how that goes for him. Other, I think, interesting information to note for this. So looking as we go through free agency, obviously the biggest question is going to be money with the salary cap bump that just recently occurred. I think right now, looking at places like Over the Cap and a couple other trackers, I think the Panthers are at this moment about $25 million in cap space. So that's a pretty good amount. It's not obviously a whole lot, but it is actually a lot better than most. I think they're right there in the low teens right now. There's a couple of contracts they could likely restructure here going forward that will help them out a lot there. And we saw, I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, moved on from Dan Jackson. That helped them save about $3 million there. So a couple other contract negotiations that could probably go down. Maybe even like folks like Austin Corbett, Taylor Moton. You kind of take Moton, extend his contract out, spread that cap hit out a little bit more, and you could probably free up a couple more $1 million or so there, which gives them a healthy, not great cap room. But looking forward into the next couple of years, that cap space looks to jump into the hundreds of millions, like about $120 million going into next year. So anybody you sign this year too, you can also structure it so their hit is deferred down the road a little bit. So hopefully we can see some good money movement there, and the Panthers can go out there really build, I think, probably their defense. Dan Morgan has been quoted as saying he wants to build a defensive line like they did the offensive line this past season, which was a lot through the line in particular, was a lot through free agency. So I think you'll see them try to make some significant moves here in free agency on the defensive side of the ball. Got, quite a few people, I think, who are coming available. There's actually, I think, several from the championship Eagles. Edge Josh Sweat had a great Super Bowl. Will definitely be on a lot of teams' radars. Linebacker Zach Bond also coming available. Interior defensive lineman Milton Williams available as well. And then I think I mentioned before, safety Justin Reed, Kansas, right? Also a good target, especially given the fact that all four of our safeties are now unrestricted free agents, and the Panthers really haven't made any moves to re-sign any of those. I would expect they'll probably try to re-sign at least one of them, but who knows? Maybe they will just move on from all four. But that leaves a significant hole to try to fill through free agency and the draft. And then another good option here, cornerback Carlton Davis, also unrestricted free agent. But let's not also forget they probably will look to add at least a little bit of help on the offensive side of the ball as well. I think it's pretty standard consensus that although Bryce Young did have a very nice resurgent second half, there were still some issues with their wide receivers. Adam Thielen was great down the stretch, but he is getting a little bit older. I don't think you continue to rely on him as your primary pass catcher. Xavier Legette played well, but there were definitely moments where there were some drops. I've pointed out before some of the issues where he's talked about being that guy who, like, if it's a 50-50 ball, I'm coming down with it or nobody's coming down with it. I felt like there were plenty of times when nobody came down with it, and you really actually would prefer he's the one coming down with it, but it's just nobody. You got to get more on that side of the results where he's the one coming down with it. And then Jalen Coker played really well, but I think still a little bit in development there. So look to see Carolina add some help on the offensive side of the ball. You got guys like wide receiver Stephon Diggs, probably not going to be someone they pursue real hard. The other name that keeps coming up a whole lot in conversation, but I think probably for more than just the Panthers, wide receiver T. Higgins, although no longer an unrestricted free agent, he is now been franchise tagged by the Bengals today. So if they want to get him, it's going to have to be a trade, which means giving up some assets. And then you got a couple other wide receiver options. Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper is an option who had a quiet second half of the season on Buffalo and also really on for Cleveland. But I think most people kind of figured the Cleveland lack of production with Cleveland was due more to the fact that Deshaun Watson was just playing like garbage. But then moving to Buffalo and not really having a whole lot of production there either kind of brings into question, but maybe that's just, trying to get integrated with that offense and just not enough time to get up to speed. And then I would look at continue to look at the offensive line, especially center. I know Austin Corbett expected to come back from injury, expected to compete and probably actually win that center job over Cade Mays. But you got Corbett and Mays are good options there at center, but just in the event that he gets injured again or and Mays doesn't quite perform as well this year, I would say that they need to take some time and give some consideration to bringing in a center and probably another. Make sure they got another good tackle to bring in behind Moton in case he's injured, or even Icky over on the left side. So a lot of options, a lot of stuff. I mean, I think all Panthers fans know there are a lot of holes to fill on this team, and so there is going to be a busy offseason free agency season here coming up. Next opportunity, though, to fill a lot of those holes will, of course, be in the draft. And the NFL Combine just wrapped up this weekend. A lot of information coming out of there. Always a whirlwind of stuff. A lot of really great athletic performances across the board. So guys who really went out there, did themselves a lot of, did themselves a good service by performing well. But I talked about this before and kind of very quick preview. Some of the folks interested in watching and seeing what comes about. One of the main ones being Edge Mike Green, Marshall, very good player, high production, 17 sacks. For the most part, a pretty good physical profile as well. A little bit shorter arms, but good weight. Height was all right. Just, kind of, if you're looking at the stats sheet for his profile, a little bit short underarms, but when you watch him on the tape, it didn't seem to be that big a deal. He had a great technique, a lot of moves, very fast, good lateral quickness too. I thought he, at times though, overshot the play or was going in for was zeroed in on one to get that home run hit, so to speak, and kind of targeted straight in for a quarterback, and then there'd be a handoff, and the running back was going the other right past them, and he just blow right past the running back instead of actually playing the ball. I think he was trying to play what he thought was going to happen and try to come up with that big sack play instead of actually just come up with that actual play. Biggest concern for him though was what had happened to him at University of Virginia. He got there in 2021. Played a backup reserve role, had a sack and handful of tackles coming in off the bench, essentially. And then in 2022, didn't return and was reported as no longer with the team before he resurfaced at Marshall the next season. Turns out a large part of his reason for his departure from UVA was due to sexual assault accusations that were brought against him. He did say that nothing else had been said to him about it. There's been, no investigators or nobody's come to talk to him about it. He hasn't been questioned or there's been no follow-up. So in his opinion, he assumes that the accusation has pretty much gone away. He absolutely denies that occurred, although he had similar accusations from high school as well. Right, a similar accusation while in high school as well. So that is something that was going to definitely induce further vetting. You're going to see teams dig into that. You don't want to, spend a top 10 draft pick on someone who has that level of character issue going on. If there's a possibility that it's happened not once but twice, and there's any validity to it, then you don't want to really kind of endorse that player, really, much less bring that concern or that possibility of that occurring while he's with your team as well. So, and much less even endorse that kind of person, that kind of behavior. So that's going to induce a lot of vetting. There's going to be a lot of looking into that. I think we'll probably hear more about what's going on there over the next few weeks before the draft, and we'll see what happens with Mike Green going forward. A few other folks I thought really stood out at the combine on the offensive side of the ball. Again, looking at wide receiver, Michael Golden from Texas. And a lot of talk about him prior to this was probably a third or fourth wide receiver on the board. Certainly coming into the season was even further down on the depth chart for Texas, much less the draft board at large. But definitely is working his way as more and more people tune into him and look at his tape. And then you look at how he delivered at the combine. We have 4.29 40 and some other good stuff there. He is definitely coming up the board. And for a lot of people now is actually wide receiver 1 over the likes of Ted McMillan. Then you had, I put in here, Isaiah Bond, come into the combine expecting to run fast, had stated that he wanted to break the record, ran a 4.39, which is good, but not exactly what I think he was predicting he would do. Then you got a running back, I think it's Bernard Smith from SMU. Also a 4.39, really good time there for the running back. Travion Henderson at 4.43 on the 40. We've always known that he was super quick and shows off his speed there. Also had a lot of other good. Let's see if I can pull some of this stuff up. Had some really good numbers, I think, across the board as well. So good offensive firepower coming in. People have talked about the wide receiver class this year is really good, not great like it has been in the previous years. But Henderson, maybe how you say it. But yep, good. And then, sorry, I am looking at Kent Lee's relative athletic score page. I'm going to try to see what, some of these guys are like. Can I get that? It's not coming up for me. Let's see if I can get that. And see how they did it to combine. It's a really great site where he takes all the measurables that they put in. Nope, did not. All right, but Travion Henderson, really quick. Running backs this year showing out and showing their depth. I think across the board a lot faster than most people expected. Performed really well. And then wide receivers, while not a great class, definitely some good depth at the second level, I would say. Like looking at maybe number 2, possibly breaking out into number 1 wide receivers. Some good depth there. Late first round, definitely second round day 2 picks there. It's going to be hard, I think, for the Panthers to be able to pick up anyone out of that. We'll see how it goes. We'll see, again, how this free agency period goes, what they're able to do for the defense, and when they can actually make a move on an offensive player in the draft, which I expect them to do, but maybe sooner rather than later. I know another wide receiver I'm interested in, Jack Besh out of TCU. Should make for a really great slot complement on the team. Go on with Coker and Leggett, and then after Adam Thielen's kind of contract, it's up in in a year or two. You have Besh coming in right behind him and getting up to speed. So I think that could be a good option. Two other guys that did well. Jay Higgins and Jalen Noel from Iowa State also performed really well. Also would make for a really good second round pick, I think, this year. So, and on the defensive side, he really had a smattering of guys. Just I don't know how to describe this. It felt like you had guys that either had a ton of production and maybe okay on the measurables, or they were amazing on the measurables, but maybe the production wasn't quite there. So was it the scheme and where they're playing in college? And I think some of the guys that epitomize this the most are looking at Jalen Walker out of Georgia. You're looking at James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. Both guys, on the kind of tall, lean side, little. Some people would probably consider it a little bit light for an edge position, but definitely had the production in college. James Pierce, I think, coming off a 9-sack season, if I remember correctly. Walker coming off a really good season as well. Really high-end motor for Walker. Really great football IQ. If you listen to the interviews that he did there at the Combine, really knows just how to talk ball, articulate what he's thinking, what he's trying to do on the field, what's important to him. And that's what I like to look for. What I really like to see in prospects is how well they know and understand the game, and the fact that they're thinking through the game. And it's more than just going out and bashing into people, although they can and they love to do that, but they're thinking about what the next step is and what they're doing now. Whether it's that pass rush move or dropping into coverage or whatever it happens to be, what they're doing now and how that will affect what they're going to do, 3 plays from now, or even the next series, like what that does to the quarterback, what that makes him think about, how it makes the offensive line react, and how they can influence the game later on. And so I think you really get that a lot from Walker. And then you got I have been tracking on this guy, linebacker um, Jihad Campbell from Alabama. Also a really good combine, really strong dude. This guy has got some great measurables, also pretty good on the production side, so that's good. Another guy, though, who just absolutely rocked it at the combine, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. This guy, spec'd out exactly how you'd love to see a defensive end. Rocked up, super strong, and had a really good combine setup. I had his numbers pulled up. I gave them up so I could look up someone else. Let's see. There we go. And let's see if I can get those pulled up quickly. We'll see what he was like. And then the other guy who I think just absolutely destroyed it at the combine was Nick Imanwari from South Carolina. That guy absolutely destroyed all the events that he was in. Had a great combine set up. Come on, man. Why won't they do this? Here we go. All right, yeah. So Shamar Stewart, here we go. Got some good numbers for him. So you look at 6'5", 267. Man, that's a lot of dude right there. 4-yard dash in 4.59. His 10-yard split 1.58 seconds. So 10 yards in under 2 seconds. That is at 267 pounds. That is a lot of weight coming in like hot and fast. Unfortunately, not a lot of production in college. A sack and a half each year for the last 3 seasons. So that is going to call into question for a lot of people whether or not he can take those metrics. Take 40-inch vertical, 10-11 on the broad jump. Take all that explosive power and actually convert it into production, or is he just going to be kind of a backfield disruptor? And at pick number 8, I don't know that's exactly what you want. I think you want somebody who's going to be a finisher and actually close out on that sack. But it's hard to argue with those kinds of traits. So I think you're looking at number 8, a whole lot of options, whereas going with someone lighter like Pierce or Walker, or somebody more with the production to back it up, or somebody who's built bigger, heavier, but the athletic traits to hopefully get them to where they need to be and pick up their production in the NFL. So we'll be looking at that going forward here for the next couple of weeks. I want to try to take, especially on the defensive side of the ball, take some of these dudes, do a little bit more watching some highlights. I say watching film. I can't watch. I don't have a lot of access there. So I try to get into the highlights, see how they did, and hopefully be able to talk about a couple of those guys individually before we get to the draft. I like to do 1 or 2 more mock drafts going forward. I've said this before. I think their Panthers' best hope is to be able to trade back into the mid or upper teens and hopefully find somebody who can give them and then hopefully be able to pick up an earlier second-round pick by doing so. That would definitely go a long ways toward helping them fill in all these holes that they have and give them a good shot at picking up one of these edge defenders and maybe a interior defensive lineman to go along with them. And then they can bring those 2 guys up together, get them worked in there with Derek Brown, get them behind David Clowney and Wonham, kind of bring them up behind those guys and get them up to full-on starters where they can really wreak some havoc going forward in a year or so. So, all right, let's move on from our Panthers takes. Let's talk a little bit hockey. the Carolina Hurricanes have been busy since coming off the break with, I think, 2 or 3 games at this point. All right. First up for them, let's see, last time we talked, I think we talked about their loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Oh, wow. Since then, 4 games they played. Starting first with the Montreal Canadiens. Not a great game there. Lost that game 0-4. And then followed that up with a win against the Buffalo Sabres 5-2. Got early 3-0 jump in the first period. And then they were able to kind of coast into the third. Buffalo cut it back to within, I think, a goal on two of their own goals. And then went for the empty net to try even that up. But Carolina was able to take advantage of that empty net and net 2 more goals and kind of put that game away with the 5-2 victory. Followed that up, though, unfortunately, with another loss to the Edmonton Oilers. Pretty tough loss here. Gave up a goal during a power play, so they had the power play, and then conceded the goal to Edmonton in the first. That got behind early, but they were able to pull back to within 2-1 in the third. They themselves went into an empty net situation, hoping to even that thing back up, and then unfortunately Edmonton took advantage of that. They were able to get the empty net goal and ice the game. See what I did there, and go take the 3-1 win for Edmonton there. Last night, though, played the Calgary Flames. It was a much tighter game. I think we've gotten used to Hurricanes having these high-scoring games. Just talked about 0-4, 5-2, 3-1. I've talked about this before where, as long as they're scoring over 3 goals, they have a pretty decent shot at winning. But anything under 3 goals, and they're probably going to lose that match. But this game was a lot tighter, being the Calgary Flames 2-1 with Sebastian Aho scoring an overtime goal to give the Hurricanes the win. So really hard fought there. Carolina still, let's see. So coming back from the break, the Hurricanes are 2-3, but still sit in second place for the Metropolitan Division. They're at 74 points. They were behind Washington, though, 10 full points. They have 84 points, so it's going to be an uphill battle here in the second half. We'll see how things go for them. Their next game now will be at the Detroit Red Wings. That will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. In Detroit. So be sure to try to check that out. And we'll continue to follow them as they make a push. They'll be pushing hard to make the playoffs coming up. All right, next up, we've got our Charlotte Hornets. Not been going great for them, and as woes continue. Whoa, that didn't happen correctly. That is my bad. Let me see here. It did not copy my right color. Okay, so woes continue for them. And what's going on? What am I doing wrong here? Copy. Thank you. There we go. Finally. Oh my God. All right. So they lose 100-113 to the Washington Wizards, who, although they have the worst record in the league, have managed to sweep the Charlotte Hornets for this season. I don't know how you get much lower than that. I think it was even I think it might have been Miles Bridges was asked about the game against Wizards, and he said, "Yeah, this is supposed to be the worst team in the league, and they just beat us. So what does that say about us?" It's just it's not going great for them right now. You would hope that it was because of injury problems mounting up for them at this point, but really overall, not a lot of injury concern. There's some day-to-days here. Let's see. So Seth Curry is day-to-day. Miles Bridges also day-to-day. So those are your like two biggest names right now. But you got LaMelo, Nick Smith. Those guys all should be doing just fine. Even Mike Williams, right? Mark Williams, sorry, not on the injury report. So not sure what's going on. I've talked before. I think this is, has been mostly a really good team with some good core talent. They're trying to build for the future. But, man, this kind of loss just is one of those things where like you feel like you can't let this happen. You look at the game 2, how it tracked. Charlotte was up through a large part of the game, even into like it was tight. It was back and forth first half. They got into went in the second half. They got broke up a pretty decent lead. Probably not by NBA standards, but it was into the third quarter when the Wizards tied it back up, and they finally took the lead and kind of coasted away with a 10-point victory, 13 double-digit victory there. So this is just stuff that you really feel like if you're going to try to build a team, you're going to try to get ahead and start doing stuff. These are the kind of games you feel like you really need to win. I feel like they're a lot further away than they were a few weeks ago when they took down San Antonio. So hopefully they can get some stuff put together, get out there and get a couple of good wins here to close out the season and try to build a little bit of momentum going forward before they hit the draft and the offseason have to start building some more for next year. All right, let's talk a little. Nope, I do. Yeah, I'm just having all sorts of troubles. Let's talk a little bit about Charlotte FC. So the Crown comes home to Carolina this weekend, or came home to Carolina this weekend, playing their home opener against Atlanta United. It was also a debut for Wilfried Zaha, Premier League player over from previous Crystal Palace experience, but also played in the Turkish league prior to being loaned out to Charlotte FC last weekend. Did not make it to Seattle with the team as his daughter was being born, so he was in the UK with his wife for her birth. Mom and baby girl are all doing well and healthy. And so Zaha comes back a day or two before the match, gets a couple practices in with the team, and immediately makes an impact and really sparks this team. You can see it from the jump. Charlotte was playing with a lot more intensity than they had the previous game. Announcers talked about how one of Charlotte's strengths in the past has been their counterattack. But this time they were on the offensive, I think, through most of it. Held the ball pretty well. Had a pretty good time of possession over Atlanta. And despite the fact that the first half ended with no score, has still played a lot more aggressively than they had. That's probably you can see Zaha out there really getting into it with Atlanta, really firing up his teammates, getting after them, urging them and pushing them to play harder. And then that paid off in the second half. They came out 4 minutes in, Zaha with a wonderful pass to Pep Biel for their first goal. And then 5 minutes later, Zaha was able to collect a rebound off the Atlanta goalkeeper and put it back into the net for his first goal with Charlotte in his first game. So he comes away with an assist and a goal. Fantastic debut for him. Really electric. The fans are real fired up. He got the throne seat of honor at the end of the game, earned the crown, earned that crown for player of the game. And just really an exciting time, an exciting game to watch. Their next game now will be at at Inter Miami down here in Fort Lauderdale. Got my fingers crossed that maybe ticket prices might come down a little bit and I can sneak down there, but those things are expensive. Everyone wants to go see Messi play, obviously, and so they're like well over $100 a piece, which is just for me that's kind of a lot of money to get down there because I'm not going to go down there by myself. I'll be taking my son, who's a huge soccer fan, huge Messi fan actually, so he can. He'll be cheering for Miami. I'll be cheering for Charlotte, and we should have a good game coming up this Sunday, 4 p.m. Nice enough time, right in the middle of the day, not too late. Keep that game done and knocked out. So make sure you're tuning in to check them out because it ought to be a whole lot of fun. All right, that is cool. Wow. Man, we're getting behind on time. I told you there's so much to talk about here in the Carolinas. So we're going to try to kick it out real quick for a couple of show drops. And then get back here and get into some ACC basketball. We might have a really quick run through on that. We had some good games, and then hopefully get into a little bit some other sports in the college realm. So stick around and we will be right back.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans, I've got the show for you. I'm Jen B, host of the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. You want football? I've got the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Eagles, the Purple Raiders, and more for you. You want basketball? I've got the Cavs and the Charge for you. You want hockey? I've got the Blue Jackets and the Monsters for you. You want football, aka soccer? I've got the Crew and the Crunch for you. You want volleyball? I'm going to unleash the fury for you. You want more Cleveland and Columbus sports? I've got them all for you, from the majors to the minors to the college rinks. Catch me, Jen B, every week on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And we are kicking off with some ACC basketball. First up, Carolina Tar Heels. Okay, so let's try to get a quick run through. UNC is now on a 6-game win streak, having beaten Syracuse, NC State, Virginia, Florida State, and Miami. Since a rather embarrassing loss at Clemson. Key note, I think, to take away from most of these, not all of them, but most of them, especially since the NC State victory, is these have been the types of victories that you wanted to see from North Carolina when playing teams in the bottom of the conference standings. So, guys, teams like NC State and Virginia, Florida State, Miami, they're all like well into the bottom half of the standings. And with the exception of Syracuse, where it was a 6-point win, all of the wins have come by double figures here. Florida State, a little bit of a tougher match there. Very tight through the first half. Carolina started to pull away a little bit in the second. Florida State almost eked it back in, but then Carolina was able to close it out. Again, finish that game off with a double-digit victory, 11 points. Some really good balanced scoring coming from the team. I talk about FSU, and we've talked about this before, where you're going to see this a lot, I think, from this team, where when the shots are dropping, the points are going, the score is going to be pretty lopsided. You're going to see these big win type of games. The FSU game here, 55% field goal percentage, 38% from the 3-point line, and we're seeing this more and more rebounding going much more in favor of the Tar Heels here, 35-21. You look at the Miami game that they just wrapped out, blowout game there, 19-point victory over Miami at Miami, which I was kind of, or not, sorry, at UNC, which I was kind of, I guess what the spread about. But at UNC, again, you had balanced scoring across the board. Van Leuven had 19 points, and 5 other players scored in double figures. So you got 6 guys scoring double figures there. And then Elliot Cadeau, I think, had 9 points. So he was like right there on the cusp. So you're looking at almost 7 guys, putting in double figure points on the night, which is a great sign. Again, I know it's Miami, but this is what you expect to see. What Carolina fans, I think, expect to see from UNC basketball is when you play the bottom tier teams, you're getting these kind of big results. And again, 59% field goal, 55% from the 3-point line, and then out rebounding 38-26. Really strong play here coming from UNC down the stretch. Unfortunately, it still may not be enough, and honestly, it probably won't be enough unless they make it to. If they make it to the ACC championship game, they might still have a chance. A lot of people still think they need to actually win the whole thing. I think if they make it there or make it to semis, they've got a pretty decent chance. Their last 2 games now will be Virginia Tech. That will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at Virginia Tech. And then they host Duke for their final game of the regular season on March 8th. That will be at 6:30 p.m. Obviously, I think if they somehow get a win against Duke, that's definitely going to boost their chances. But in the more likely situation where they probably don't get that win, they're going to need a deep ACC run. It's going to have to be at least a semis, if not actually into the championship or winning the championship game altogether, to be able to get that conference championship bid into the tournament. At large bid at this point seems, and we'll talk about it a little bit later maybe, but ESPN I think it's got projected somewhere in the high 30% chance to make it. So not looking very good for the Tar Heels there. For Duke, however, things continue to look just fine. Duke continues to roll through ACC. They also beat FSU by a handful, 100-65. Cooper Flagg was injured though in that game. Took a shot to the head and eye. Was out for quite a bit of time in the first half, but did come back. Did play through that injury, and then you had Proctor, guard for Duke, right? Duke guard was out for this game as well. However, Duke continued to do what they do, as you see by the final score, and had a great game there against Florida State. Their next game will be Wake Forest. That's of course prior to the UNC game. We'll see how they handle Wake Forest. That will be tonight at 7 p.m. So tune in to check out how Duke kind of starts to wrap up their ACC run, and they get ready for the ACC tournament, where I'm sure they'll continue to dominate and probably are pretty good lock to win that whole thing. Next up, let's talk a little bit of NC State real quick. Oops, sorry about that. Wolfpack, unfortunately, going down to Georgia Tech, losing there 87-62. This was a pretty lopsided game for Georgia Tech. Pulled away by a little tight to begin with, but pulled away by the end of the first half, and then just continued to pour it on in the second half. Unfortunately for NC State, just not enough there, not enough firepower. I think Dontrez Styles was one of the leading scorers for the pack, former UNC player. Ben Millbrooks and Dontrez Styles each scored 13 points for NC State, but with that being the bulk of their offense, they only shot 38% for this game. Really just not enough to be able to take on Georgia Tech, who's sitting there in the upper half of the ACC. They're at even 9-9 in the conference. State sitting at 4-14. They've got to finish out their season now will be hosting Pitt. They're in Raleigh and then going down to Miami to finish things off. So they've got a chance to finish out with 1 or 2 wins there, but then into the ACC tournament where, you can say it's anybody's game, anybody's guess, but I think just kind of that lack of offensive firepower this year is really hurting NC State. So we'll see how it goes for them going into that tournament in a couple of weeks. All right, Wake Forest continues to be the enigma we all know and love. Come to know and love. Oops, should have done that first. They pull out a win against Notre Dame, although they trailed through most of it. Notre Dame sitting the highest here. They're 4th from last, and Wake Forest is currently sitting at number 5 in the conference, just ahead of UNC. Same record in the conference, 12-6. So it should have been a pretty easy game for Wake Forest to handle. However, went back and forth with Notre Dame, and they were actually able to pull it off in the final couple of minutes, eking out a 3-point win against them. They're next up. Again, we kind of mentioned this, will be at Duke in Durham. That's tonight, again, at 7 p.m. We'll see how that goes, but anticipate another lopsided Duke loss. I think the Cameron Crazies will be out in force, ready to go. And then Wake Forest finally finishes up their season. Oh, sorry about this. Come on, stop. 2 games left. Duke, and then they finish up with Georgia Tech. That should be a pretty interesting game, to say the least. I think Georgia Tech can definitely give them fit. We will give them some fits. Hopefully Wake Forest can hold them off, go into the ACC tournament on a strong note. Through that, although it's going to be them and UNC really trying to make that final push going forward through the ACC tournament, hoping to lock in a bid for the NCAA tournament. All right, next up, let's talk a little bit Clemson Tigers. They also have been continue to play strong, defeating. So let's see. He is. Yeah. So Clemson, Wake Forest with kind of inverse games here these last couple this last week, where Wake Forest played UVA, who they lost to 75-83. Again, complete enigma. Should not have lost to UVA. And then squeaked out that win against Notre Dame. Clemson had the exact opposite schedule, where they played Notre Dame first and then took on UVA. They beat Notre Dame 83-68. And with that win, they set a single season program record with 15 ACC wins. So they are having handily their best season yet. They follow that up again with a 71-58 victory over UVA. This is actually, we're looking at 13-point win, which sounds pretty comfortable, but they were actually down by 10 in the second half and needed to have a comeback in this game to pull off the victory. But that, continues to push their fantastic season ahead, now up to 16 wins. Expect that to continue with games at Boston College coming up on the 5th. And then follow that up hosting Virginia Tech to close out the season. And you expect them to go into the ACC tournament and really make some noise there, having been the only team in the ACC to defeat Duke. Maybe we'll see them challenge Duke again in the ACC tournament. I don't know. I think Duke will probably come out extra hard. And if these two meet up in the tournament, it's going to be an amazing game to see there. All right, let's shift over a little bit to our SEC basketball favorite, the South Carolina Gamecocks are always playing hard and often falling short, but not this time, as they notched their second SEC win of the season, 72-53 over the Arkansas Razorbacks. Colin Murray Bowles has a career high night, 35 points. He goes 12 for 16. Just a fantastic job on his part. It's been, looking back at their other win, a great couple of games for them. They did lose 71-101 to the number 14 ranked Missouri Tigers a couple of nights before that. But you got to take what you get, and what they got was a great win against Arkansas. They now will face the Georgia Bulldogs tomorrow night at 6 p.m. So South Carolina still sits dead last 2-14 in the SEC, but Georgia is also sitting in the bottom half. They're 6-10, so not exactly a done deal for Georgia. I think South Carolina has a legit shot at getting the home win here. It will be in South Carolina, so that should be a little bit of an advantage. And then they follow that up with a regular season ending game at number 4 Tennessee. That obviously will be an insanely tough matchup. So hopefully South Carolina can pull off one more win against Georgia and give Tennessee fits. We've seen them do it all season. They gave Florida fits. They gave Bama and Auburn fits. Like Bama, they pulled away at the end, but they definitely gave Auburn some fits. They only lost by 3 points to Auburn. So this team has, that potential to get in, to finally get in a really good upset, and it would be pretty fitting if they could get in an upset against number 4 Tennessee right before the regular season wraps up. All right. Speaking of wrapping up, we'll wrap up this basketball talk with a little bit of work bracket talk. So we talked a little bit about UNC sitting there at 34%, according to ESPN. So 1 of 3 chance at this point without winning the ACC tournament to be able to make it into the NCAA tournament. Demon Deacons sitting at about the same odds. So between the two of them, they either have to go really deep, pull out a crazy upset win against Duke in the regular season, or just flat out win the ACC tournament and get that championship bid. to get into the NCAA tournament. So for both teams, it's looking pretty difficult. Duke, Clemson, Louisville, actually still looking like locks, or will be locks for the NCAA. We'll see them playing next month for that final championship. So, all right, let's take another quick timeout to listen to a couple more shows, and then when we get back, we'll try to wrap it up with some extracurricular college sports that we don't always get to talk about, and hopefully get into them a little bit. All right, we'll see you back in a moment.
What's good, sports fans? It's your boy Aaron Yell, and if you are looking for sports takes that live a mile above the rest, look no further than Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Want to talk about NBA, MVPs, and champions? Yeah, that's us. Perhaps a baseball team that no matter how they play, you just can't quit them? Yep, we've got that too. What about Stanley Cups, NHL award winners in the burgundy and blue? You got it. How about Buffaloes that run, pass, shoot, dunk? You bet. For all things Colorado sports, look no further than right here every Sunday at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, 8 Mountain, and 7 Pacific. Because if that light is red and the kids are in bed, you are listening to Mile High Music, where we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos. Stay good, sports fans.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indie Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indie Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Let's get into. Let's see where they go. Oh, that's why. I'm sorry about that. All right, let's get into a couple more sports here. Let's first talk a little bit NCAA women's basketball. A lot of good stuff going on here. For the most part, let's start off. UNC, unfortunately, not with one of those teams with some good news. They lose back-to-back games. First to Duke, 68-53 was a tight game into the third quarter, but Duke eventually pulled that one away. Carolina, I think, still down two of their starters, and then followed that up with a loss to UVA. Carolina led this one most of the way. They were even up by double figures in the first half. UVA, though, chipped back into it, fought their way back in the second half, and pulled a 3-point upset over then number 8 UNC. Because of those 2 losses, UNC takes a pretty significant tumble, 6 places down. They are now ranked number 14. But on the other side, on the other side, you've got NC State beating Wake Forest and SMU, 78-57 and 69-45, respectively. Because of that, NC State's the beneficiary of UNC's losses and pops up 2 spots, and they take over number 7 in the rankings. And then Duke right next door, again, beating UNC first and then taking down number 24, Florida State, 71-57, playing their best basketball at the right time. Duke holds steady. Oh, nope, sorry. Duke jumps up 5 spots, landing at number 11 now. So they're up in right there at the cusp of the top 10. NC State also playing really well at the right time. UNC, unfortunately, dropping 2 games at the worst possible time, I think, as they all start to get ready for their tournaments. And then South Carolina, also on the winning side of things, beating Ole Miss 75-59, and then beating Kentucky 78-66. That earns them a spot up. And they sell out at they go from number 6 to number 5 in the rankings. So, excuse me. Sorry. So that'll be pretty close to wrapping these schedules up for the ladies as they get ready to go into tournaments. They've got, that finishes off the regular seasons for them, and they will now start ACC, SEC tournament play. To see where they come out for that. All right. Let's talk now a little bit baseball and softball. All right. All right, there we go. And there we got that. All right. So on the baseball side of things, you got UNC is off to their best start in almost 10 years, I think. They're up to 12-0 with wins over ECU, VCU, North Carolina A&T, and a 3-game sweep against Stony Brook. This 3-game sweep earns them a couple of positions. They move 1 position. They move from number 5 to number 4, behind only Arkansas, Tennessee, and LSU at this point. You've got NC State NC State struggles continue. They have losses to Richmond, but they lose to Richmond, but then bounce back a little bit, being Canisius 10-2, 12-11, and 10-0. So a handful of good wins there for NC State to get them back to a winning record. Wake Forest, they pick up a couple of wins. They move to 10-3 and they jump from. You're now number 15. With wins over Elon, Princeton, and Maryland, and then splitting with Maryland, giving up another game to them. So first game, 9-1 win over Maryland. Follow that up with an 8-9 loss to the Terps. Clemson also continues to improve. They are now sitting at 10-1. They move up. They move from 13 up to number 11. They defeated Winthrop and then swept previously undefeated South Carolina 5-3, 5-1, 8-2. Unfortunate turn events for South Carolina, who have been on kind of a tear. Playing some lesser teams, but still, sitting at 9-0. Had hoped that once they hit a couple of these other teams, they get a couple wins, maybe earn a couple votes to get into the top 25. But I think that 3-game sweep against Clemson is probably going to put that on hold for a little while, unless it can bounce back against someone else. Number 17, Duke, unfortunately dropped down to, I think, 7-5 for them with losses to Campbell and Liberty, but a 3-game sweep against Northwestern. Still not enough, though, and they drop out of the top 25. And yeah, moving on from there, softball heating up and coming along very nicely for a couple of our teams in the area. Talking specifically about number 9, Duke. Yep, still staying at number 9. They are 13-3. They get wins against get a win against Michigan, and then 3 games here. Yeah, looks like, I don't know. This is hard to make out. Yeah, looks like lost to South Carolina maybe. And then speaking of South Carolina, they now sit at 15-0. They moved from 24th to 21st. They got wins against Charlotte and then a 3-game sweep against Duke. We'll see if these rankings update here in a little bit, and you might see Duke come down a little bit from there. Yeah. So anyway, some good baseball, good softball action going on. We're really getting to the heart of spring sports. Hopefully we'll be able to get into that a little bit more and start covering that a little bit more. It is hard to follow these games live. Don't see them get aired a whole lot on like ESPN or anything like that. But hopefully we see that pick up as the basketball ramps down and we can get more into these sports. I do intend to cover them a little bit more in depth as things progress. We get more into that off season. Hockey starts wrapping up. Football kind of hits that little bit of a dead period right before the draft, and the ACC tournament, NCAA tournament, kind of start to wane. And hopefully I can focus a little bit more in on some of the baseball and softball stuff going on, and bring you some more in-depth discussions on that. All right, I think that is going to basically wrap it up for me here. As a reminder, I recently moved my office. I am now in an actual office vice a closet, sitting in a closet with the fake background going on. I got some real stuff going on. I got some real shelves packed up here or bought here. Looking to get those put up here soon, and wanted to start getting some stuff thrown up there. So if you guys have some ideas, if you guys got some ideas for me to get put up there, send them in to me. Hit me up on X. I think you can at some point soon too find us on Instagram even. Let me know what I should hang behind me. Start throwing up some jerseys. Get some Charlotte FC gear up here as we get into that season, and should be a good time, I think, going forward. That's going to do it for me, and you guys stay safe out there, and we will see you at the next one.